All right. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Jacob Serfling, and I'm the Director of Building Decarbonization Policy and Projects here at Midwest BDC. Thanks for joining us for this podcast series. We're kicking off exploring some of our different Midwest BDC working groups for those of you who maybe aren't as familiar with them or the work that takes place in the coalition. So if you're joining us for the first time, the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition is working to decarbonize the Midwest building sector by 2050. Our focus states are Indiana, Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, and Ohio. And as I said before, much of our work takes place in different topic or policy-focused working groups that meet either bi-weekly or monthly over Zoom. So joining me today, I have James Trice and Deirdre Nieves. James is based in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and is the founder and CEO of the Public Policy Project. And Deirdre is based in Michigan and is the Director of Climate Solutions and Justice at the West Michigan Environmental Action Council. So today we're going to be focusing on our federal policy working group. James and Deirdre have been very involved with this group over the past year. This is a group with the goal of empowering Midwest advocates from a variety of backgrounds to capitalize on federal funding for building energy and climate mitigation work. For the past few years, very specifically around the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and the Inflation Reduction Act, and really with a strong specific emphasis on making sure that the states that we work in are upholding those federal Justice 40 commitments. So that's kind of the introduction of the group and where we'll be starting today. But I also want to welcome James and Deirdre to introduce themselves. So James, why don't we start with you?
All right. Thank you so much, Jacob. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. It's a wonderful opportunity. I don't know how long it's been. I think it's been like 3 years I've been a part of Midwest BDC. And it's just a great pleasure. I joined it because I believe in collective working together to change systems overall. The foundation of my work is the belief that people have far more power than they realize, and that people must be involved at the decision-making tables around issues that impact their lives. And as many of us can work together as possible is wonderful. And this coalition exemplifies people working together at multiple levels to address issues that impact their lives. So that's why I joined.
Yes. Also, thank you for having me, Jacob. And it's great to be with you all. I've been involved with Midwest BDC for a couple years now. I joined the policy working group in 2023. And I consider myself, just a little bit more about my background, I'm also a professor at Western Michigan University. And I really consider myself a social scientist. My research has long been sort of grounded in climate change impacts and so forth. But I really look at how these sort of impacts and challenges and resiliency is focused and centered on community. So joining this coalition was really a natural step for me, giving my commitment to advocating for equitable climate solutions. I wanted to be in a space with others who share these same sort of visions about decarbonizing our buildings, homes, while also ensuring that the voices of the most vulnerable communities are heard and prioritized in this work. So in and throughout West Michigan and the Midwest, our coalition really represents a bold network of advocates, stakeholders, organizations. We're sort of growing this whole youth movement and just young people and students coming into the fold in terms of learning about these issues and being impactful. So I feel like we've made some significant strides this year, and I'm excited to be a part of everything.
Great, great. Well, I have a few questions for our discussion here today, but I know we're also streaming live a couple of different places, so I'll just mention that if folks have questions as we're discussing, I'm perfectly happy to pivot a little bit into questions that folks have. But one place where I thought would be interesting for us to get started. Both of you come from organizations that have, I think a pretty strong emphasis on local environmental or local environmental justice issues, and I think sometimes what's happening at the federal level can feel really uh, big or distant from those immediate local concerns. So I'm just curious why you personally felt it was important to get involved with the policy and advocacy that Midwest BDC was aiming at the federal level.
And is that a question for me, Jacob?
Whichever of you wants to go ahead and start.
Well, I'll start then. I'll start since we started with me as well. Well, the foundation of my work, I started the Public Policy Project back in 2020 as a public policy civic engagement leadership training program. We trained thousands of individuals on how to engage decision makers, how to be more civically involved, how to make their voice heard with decision makers and policymakers at the local level, state level, and federal level, helping communities to move policy in their own interests, to really get involved and make their voice heard on policy issues that impact them, really how to navigate their state legislatures, how to even navigate city council and other decision-making bodies at the local level. And like I said, we've trained thousands of people all here in Minnesota and others all over the country. And some of those individuals have gone on to become elected officials, run for office. And these are individuals who've never been involved with the policy making process at all. Some of these individuals, prior to being a part of Public Policy Project, even voted, and or they just voted in the general election or the federal election for president, but they didn't vote at the local level for like school board or even a park board or even their state legislators, city council members. And now they, after going through our training, really got involved, really understood that the process is not as daunting as it seems, and that it's really for them to get involved, and also that these individuals work for them, and that they need to make their voice heard on issues that are important to them, and even hold their elected officials accountable. And so that's why I got involved, because it is another process or another avenue by which individuals can get involved and again make their voice heard and be empowered, right? Empower themselves. I don't believe we empower anybody. I believe that people have power. They just need to understand, excuse me, the power that they have to help decide what's happening in their lives and what impacts their lives. So that's why I got involved with this. I've worked with national policy organizations where we're moving federal policy really under the Obama administration with regard to environmental justice and holding manufacturing companies accountable for their emissions output, and being responsible for really just to making sure that they don't impact people's lives with their pollution, regardless of what it is, right? Even here in Minnesota, where we help to make sure that local, say, car manufacturing, car companies or auto body shops. I lost my train of thought there. Auto body shops here in Minneapolis are now required to use water-based solvents and paints and so forth in their process helping cars or painting cars and that kind of thing. Anyway, long story short, my involvement with decision makers since 2025 and helping communities engage in the policymaking process has been a staple of mine and a passion of mine, and continues to be. And that's why I got involved with Midwest BDC and the federal policy working group.
Great. Yeah, and Deirdre, I'm curious for you as well, like how you see, the really like high level federal things that we tend to be talking about, in our working group. How does that connect with with what your local action is as well?
Yeah, this is a great question. And we share at WEMIAC a lot of the similar sentiments that James has shared. We've been in operation for over 50 years. We're one of the Midwest area's largest environmental organizations. And we've been doing a lot of work around education. Um, and just informing the community about those issues that impact them. And what we've realized in the last couple years is that, similar to what James is stating here, that the community, they have a voice. They need to really understand that their voice impacts decisions that are made. And for us, some of our federal policy work at WEMIAC is fairly new. We started looking directly at federal policy in 2023. It's been a significant part of the work that I do. We engage our membership. We work in the community with different events, education, um, activities, especially in disadvantaged communities, trying to inform the community on issues related to them, um, or things that they should be involved in on a federal level, and letting them really voice their opinion in areas where they need to have their voice at the table and where they can really make an impact. So yes, although our work is fairly new, we do recognize that we do need these voices at a federal level. And so we're engaging in federal work. We're trying to inform our membership about the different funding sources that are available to these communities. We're trying to inform them more so about ways that they can voice you know, their concerns at a federal level, and some of these things that are taking place at a federal level when policies or rules are enacted, they then tend to trickle down to more of the state and federal level. Yeah.
I put myself on mute there. No, yeah, thank you for that, James and Deirdre. And, we mentioned the Inflation Reduction Act before, and I think for the past probably 2 years now, and Deirdre, you touched on this as well. With having a voice and how some of these rules and things have shaken out. We had this very large federal package of different, climate-focused programs and funding, and it's been, a process over the last couple of years of working with the working group and other coalition members to try to, have a voice in how that was all going to get implemented. Try to steer those things in a direction where we were going to get good outcomes in our states. As you kind of reflect on the work that we've been doing throughout 2024 or the back half of 2023, what do you both kind of see as the big wins or successes of our group kind of working together?
Well, I would say thank you for that question. It is a great question because I'm excited about the work that the group has done. I think the biggest win, I would say, would be submitting comments to the EPA's Environment and Climate Justice Program, where we knew this program was being released. The group, again, from all of our states, were concerned about how the dollars from the Inflation Reduction Act would be distributed equitably throughout the nation. But, our focus is on our 8-state region to make sure communities of color, Black, Brown, Indigenous communities, are not left out. We talked about application barriers, program designs, reporting, and even as far as how local state agencies like DOE, Department of Energy, and so forth at each state would engage communities, right? How are they going to get this information out to communities? How are our communities going to be aware this is happening, and how are they going to get involved, and even engage the communities at different levels, multiple languages, and so forth, making sure that when these communities hear about the program, or as these programs are being introduced, that they're in multiple languages, and that state agencies hire people of color, people that look like the end users, the people who will be engaging in accessing these programs. And so that, I think, is a big win. We were able to really influence, I think, the Department of Energy on how best to do it, and ask critical questions that I think were relevant and very important. So this it will be seamless and easy for communities really to engage. So I think our biggest win was that I think we were able to influence how the EPA's program to get these dollars out to communities would function. And so I think that's our biggest program, and everybody got involved, and we did some really, really hard work. I mean, we went through every single question. We went through every single detail. We spent, I think, weeks. I think we meet every other week, and every week we took our whole time really to just really delve into this and really give some serious consideration to how this program would function in our communities. So I think that's our biggest work, our biggest win. We came together, and I think we made an impact.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, James. I believe that our biggest win has been our successful advocacy and, advocacy for the inclusion of community voices in the funding plans that were derived from the Inflation Reduction Act and some of these other important funding sources. We mobilized our coalition of organizations across the Midwest and ensured that the state energy offices considered the specific needs of these vulnerable populations when distributing and considering how distributing these funds for home heating upgrades and energy efficient improvements would be handled. Our engagement with the different programs, such as the high energy efficient homes rebate, and also the whole homes energy reduction rebate programs, and that funding. It's been very crucial to ensuring that these initiatives really prioritize, like you mentioned, James, equitable access, allowing our considerations for low to moderate income households to benefit significantly from these energy savings and improvement of their living conditions and their homes and buildings, for example. And this funding is not just considering those that are the wealthiest or those that can act, the fastest when trying to benefit from these. And our coalition was very effective in making sure that we were considering the needs of these vulnerable communities and being a voice for them in some of these spaces. So we have a very strong collaborative strength in our network. It's allowed us to amplify our impact in a very meaningful way to affect policy change. and really just ensure that these voices of our communities are not just heard, but also prioritized in the decision-making processes. So again, I think I agree that just our collective efforts to make sure that the needs of the vulnerable communities were heard, and that was important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think it's been an education for everybody involved in the working group, just myself included, of what it really looks like to go from words on a page and intent when some of these bills and things get passed, to what it really looks like to, okay, like we got the law passed, or the funding passed that we wanted. What does it actually look like to roll all of this out? And that's I think for a lot of folks involved with the working group, like, oh, there's a lot more to that than maybe you think about going in
exactly.
over the past 2 years. Well, I'm going to throw one last question to both of you, and apologize because this wasn't on our list, but just thinking about it as we've been going through with our conversation, I think you've touched on a lot of the work we've done around what passed 2 or 3 years ago, and the work that this group has done to make sure that that's implemented in a positive and meaningful way across the Midwest. I think we've learned a lot of lessons from that process over the past 2 years. And obviously, right now we're talking in mid-October in 2024, so we don't know what the next month or so is going to bring. But uh, in a scenario where we're talking about, another big piece of federal action, or maybe sometime in the next couple of years, what do you think you've learned from the process that we've gone through recently, that would change, what or how you'd advocate for things the next time around?
Wow, that's a great question.
Yeah,
Wow, that's a great question,
yeah,
and
right.
I would say that continued
Hmm.
education on how the system works, right, and how really to engage in it in multiple ways and in multiple levels, and I think the education is invaluable, right? Because then once you learn something, then you're responsible for it, right?
Yeah.
The purpose of knowledge is information. The purpose of information is action, right? Once you have that information, you have to act. And I think now we have a whole cadre of individuals who probably never engaged in this level before, now understand how to engage moving forward. And I think that's what's going to change things, is collective engagement of individuals
Mhm.
involved in decision making around issues that impact their lives, and understanding how the system works and how to navigate it. So I think that's what's going to impact us moving forward in the world. Period.
Absolutely. And James, you've taken the words, right? You couldn't have said it even any better. I personally believe that, we in these over this last period of time, we've sort of made federal policy relatable by really
Yes.
illustrating its direct impact on local communities. I believe that we're building momentum. We've done that. We've started to educate individuals in the community. We've started to connect members of the community with these sort of federal policy entities or legislators. We've been informing and educating them. Midwest BDC has a whole host of educational material. We've been gathering as a working policy group. We've been engaged individually with each other, sharing our ideas and antidotes for solving the climate crisis, and getting more information to those individuals, especially those BIPOC and vulnerable communities, getting information dismantled into these communities, having these individuals engage in all of these different avenues to have their voices heard for their own communities, and putting the power in their hands, I believe. So if nothing else, we've built this power, we've built momentum. And I think that we've done a great job where this will continue, no matter, whatever the outcome is in a month or a year from now. We have individuals that are informed and engaged, and I just see that continuing to grow.
Oh, great. Yeah, I think you all are spot on. I think for me, to build on what both of you had said and kind of answer my own question, I think that the key thing is like to not waste the momentum that we've built or the relationships that have been built around some of these programs that we've been talking about the last couple of years, right? There's been a lot of relationship infrastructure between community members and advocates and these different state and federal agencies that I think didn't exist when IRA got passed, at least not the ones that we've been involved with, and don't give that up, just to move on to the next thing. I think is really critical. So I think we're at the end of the time that I had that we had wrangled you both for. I'll ask Maggie in the background if there's any questions coming in from other places that we want to quick touch on. Otherwise, I'll just plug the working group for anybody watching this today. We do meet bi-weekly. So our next meeting will be on the 24th, October 24th. We meet at noon Eastern time, 11 Central over Zoom. So please reach out at Midwest BDC. Yep. Okay, great. I got the link there on the screen, midwestdecarb.org /federal policy. If you want to learn more about getting involved with that. We're awaiting, I think we have one of the state rebate programs has rolled out in the 8 states that we work in. So there's still a lot of work to be done tracking that, and we're kind of continuing to have that same conversation we had here at the end of what the next step is in 2025 at the federal level, knowing that we're going to continue to need those investments to support the things that we want to do at the state and local levels as well. So yeah, if we don't have any audience questions or anything, I think we can wrap up. Thank you so much, James and Deirdre, for
Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, for making time to talk
Thank
today.
you.
Yes.
The very valuable support work you've done with the working group, always appreciated very much.
And thank you for your leadership on the group, Jacob. Your
Absolutely.
leadership, your expertise, and your brilliance in leading this group is just invaluable. So thank you so much.
Yes, it's
for
been a great partnership.
for your work.
I agree.
Yeah, you are a
Great
gift
partnership.
to the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition.
All right. That's enough of that. But thank you very much. And yeah, Maggie, I think we can wrap up.